Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're enjoying your lovely lunch. Happy to have these ladies up here with me today. So we have a list of 5 questions, and so I'm going to start with Lori first. Question number 1, and by the way, Lori's from East St. Louis School District 189, and so forth. So Lori, how is the teacher shortage affecting your district, and what trends do you see happening in your district as far as the shortage?
Well, as you know, the shortage is nationwide, and we've had an extreme amount of shortages in the area of foreign language, special education, as well as mathematics. And so what our school district did was look at an alternative way, which proximity learning provided an opportunity where our middle school classes did not have a foreign language teacher. And so we're looking for alternative ways in order to address those issues and to make sure our students have highly qualified teachers. And so our hope is always to have a person there. However, with our last school year, we did enjoy having the opportunity to work in proximity learning with having highly qualified teacher by virtual learning.
Okay, you ladies want to chime in?
I would just like to add that we have the same issue related to teacher shortages. Unfortunately for us in Georgia, it is also in the area of even finding elementary teachers. So no matter where I go in our schools, I'm able to find at least one at each level. Of course, math, ELA, even social studies, and then Spanish. I'm able to find where there's a need to fill a position, just even sometimes temporarily, but either way to find someone that can go into one of our classrooms and offer those students that consistent classroom instruction that they cannot receive from subs. So the teacher shortage definitely affects us, and this helps us with that lack of staffing.
Ditto, 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 ditto. So in the East Baton Parish school system, I think we're all in pretty nice sized school districts, and we service a large percentage of students with Title I type schools. For us, the universities aren't producing enough teachers, and with that, our baby boomers that we've all heard for the last 10 years that they were going to retire, they're actually retiring, and so we are filling the crunch. And so Proximity has been able to provide some much needed assistance with vacancies, but then also we've been able to use it more creatively with our growing ESL population in our school district. So we've used ours primarily at the high schools to provide instruction in the language of Spanish in core content areas. So for our high school students, they can take Algebra 1 in Spanish. And so it gives those students an opportunity to be successful in the classroom academically.
Okay, next question. What strategies are you using to combat the lack of certified teachers in your district? We kind of touched on that here, but anyone who can articulate so.
Okay. As it relates to just strategies in general that we're using outside of proximity learning?
Yeah.
Well, we have.
We included process.
Okay. Yes, I was going to say before proximity learning, what we had in place was a teacher who was on their planning who would have to go in and they'd have to set up a schedule so that those students who did not have a teacher for the day, due to the fact that we didn't have a sub or someone in place, so that they could get some instruction. So now with proximity learning, we don't have that as an issue anymore. They have a dedicated teacher who is there to help with communicating with parents, communicating all types of issues related to that student and any learning deficiencies they may be having, making sure that all of that happens. That to me does not occur when you have a sub. So there's a lot of information that doesn't get communicated back to parents without a teacher that's dedicated.
So for us, we've really been very creative with our usage of proximity. So one of the things at our high needs high schools, we're not normally able to offer advanced courses because you can offer it generally at your more affluent schools. Unfortunately, it's just the reality. It's an equity issue. And so we've been able to provide access to physics, to chemistry, to a lot of different subject areas for our schools that are in high needs areas where they might not have the same number of students actually signed up for those courses. So it wouldn't warrant us financially being able to hire a full-time teacher in that area. We're able to share that service across multiple campuses. So that's been very helpful. And as far as recruitment, we do everything that you all do. We go out to job fairs. One of the things I really like about proximity and being able to use it, our facilitators in our classrooms are now thinking about becoming teachers because they're having access, they're being a part of that, they're being trained. And so we have many of them who have signed up to be part of our Unleash Your Potential program, where we work with paraprofessionals to prepare them to take the praxis exam and to become teachers. So we've ignited a fire in the next generation of teachers by using our facilitators and them having the connection and working with our proximity instructors.
And I'd like to add, last year we implemented our first year of having a residency program along with having proximity learning. So in our classrooms that have proximity learning, we had substitute teachers, and some of our substitute teachers now have become interested in becoming teachers through our residency program, which we're going through cohort 2 this year. So last year we had about maybe 12 of those individuals that went through the residency program and became teachers and are now in our district. And so it kind of, proximity learning provided an opportunity for those to get experience in the classroom and also to further their education.
Okay, did you want to add? Well done. Okay, so really going back to what Daphne was talking about, really you're providing equity for your students. We haven't discussed this earlier. So how do you see virtual teachers helping to fight the growing educational inequity in school districts? You kind of touched on it earlier. Maybe you want to elaborate on that a little bit.
I would say that just based on the types of teachers we have been hiring, because of the shortage, the quality of the teacher that we have in front of our students is not necessarily where it needs to be. A lot of our teachers are coming from a different profession, so because they're a non-traditional teacher, they don't have all of the pedagogy, classroom management is an issue, several things that if we were able to provide them more support and they had more time prior to having to be in front of a classroom of students, they would be more successful and our students would do better, our achievement would be better. So because of the fact that we can get a certified teacher in the subject who is familiar with the curriculum in Georgia or wherever it is that they will be teaching, they're already familiar with all of the practices that they need to have in place in terms of planning. Anything that a regular teacher would be able to provide, these teachers are already certified and have good experience and also know how to leverage technology. We have a lot of technology in our buildings because we have Title I schools. We've spent a lot of money over the years. Now we're able to use that technology to help our students, and they're able to interact one-on-one with the teacher who is qualified, and to me is more invested because they're willing to look at all of the different populations of students, and a lot of times what I feel that they do is try to connect with them in a different way because they're not in classroom. They still use this as an opportunity to find out who are the students and make that connection so they're more engaged in the classroom.
Well, that was going to bring me to my next question. Would you invest in a virtual K-12 teacher? That's kind of still the question because all three of you have invested in it. So, that brings me to my next question. What does the future of education look like from an HR perspective in your building or in your district rather?
So I think we have to be more creative as our employees change and this new generation of employees. We have candidates coming out of college ed who aren't really interested in teaching full-time. And so this is going to give us an opportunity to be more creative with hiring and having that virtual touch that maybe they don't want to teach full-time, but they can go through proximity and teach part-time at multiple schools. Another thing I was thinking about is homeschool, our homebound students. This is a great technology. We're a one-to-one district, and so when I think about our homebound students, and that's my next thing, Ted, that I want to look at. For our homebound students, you know, you have a homebound teacher that may come out once or twice a week. Wow, wouldn't it be exciting if they were able to be wherever they are and using that technology to communicate with the teacher and kind of have that homebound teacher that we're paying for be more of a facilitator to assist. This would be so important because those students are so disconnected to school because they're not able to be there physically, but now they're virtually talking to their classmates and they're still having that connection. And I think that's where we're going, using technology to help our students learn because this is their medium, this is what they use. One of the exciting things that I found out from some of our facilitators was students who were absent, they actually logged in for their classes during the proximity time from home. So they might have been absent, and especially once you have schools that have equity issues, we know that some of those kids miss school because they're taking care of younger siblings and stuff like that. And so these kids were logged in, and so I think that that's where technology is going. We have to be very creative and very prepared for this next generation of teachers and students.
Well, she just pretty much summed it up as well. I was saying just from the HR perspective, looking at it twofold. One, looking at the kind of candidates that we're trying to attract, and also looking first and foremost at the students that we're servicing. And with these students being so tech savvy, we have to be innovative and creative and come up with a variety of ways to engage and keep them engaged. And so proximity learning provides an opportunity for that. We're a one-to-one district with the students having Chromebooks or iPads along with smart boards or Promethean boards and those. So having that technology and using that technology provides them with access to those subject areas in which they don't have a qualified teacher. And so I think we're going in a direction where we have to continue using the technology in a variety of ways and engaging our candidates as well as our students.
I did want to add that I feel the same way, that there's no way that we're going to get away from using this as well as any other technology that we can to make sure that our students are getting all that they deserve to receive when they're in the classroom each day. But one thing that I like the most about it is that it looks like a co-teaching model. You already have your special ed students who receive that extra support. Now what's happened with some of our classes where there's a proximity learning teacher, if there's already peer support in that class because of the special ed students, then they have that facilitator as well as the one that's trained through proximity learning. So you have those co-teaching models, those small groups, all of that extra help and support. And I already have one principal who's indicated she has a high school math class and she doesn't think she's going to find a teacher. She says she wants to use proximity learning out here. Well, what she already knows, which principals who don't use this don't realize, is that she'll have two people in the classroom, and that is going to help the students tremendously. So I think this is a way for principals to be strategic. Yes, you want qualified teachers, you want certified teachers in all of your classrooms. When you see that's not happening, how far do you go down the list to find someone that doesn't have the quality when you could have one certified person virtually, but also have some additional help and support because you have those facilitators in there who can also help the students on an individual basis.
All right, so we've heard from the panel. What I'd like to do is open it up to you out there in the audience. If you have any questions for either Ms. Sanders, Ms. Donaldson, or Ms. Thomas. Yes.
Question about, well, there's two. Will you require the proximity learning teachers to have the certification from the state, which the students are serving? That's one. And the other is, what about evaluation and monitoring instruction? How are you assured that the quality is there for everyone?
Did you hear that? You want to respond to that?
So just like any other state, there's some level of reciprocity. So the teacher, if they're certified in another state, they can get certification in our state, right? So we utilize that model. The other piece is our principals are actually able to view the class going on. So if they want to observe, they can do it from their office. They can do it from their smartphone. That particular access is very important. Also, the facilitator that's within the classroom, if there's an issue, they're able to kind of connect and notify the administration if there's a concern. So you have that particular piece. Our proximity instructors, they actually participate in PLCs and everything, so they're able to do that. We try to remind the principals that they have to bring a laptop to the meeting so that they can be there, right? So that's kind of one of those things. They're like, well, they weren't here. I said, did you take a laptop in the room? No. Well, how are they going to be there? Okay. Technology is magical, but not that magical. So, you know, those particular challenges we've really worked through and figured out how to facilitate. And we try to remind the site-based administrator to let them know that, you know, they're gonna have a meeting on Tuesday at 1 o'clock, right? Because they need to know that. And I just wanna say one thing, because I talk a lot, but your story. I had a high school principal this year who hired a math teacher and was trying to get proximity as well. And the math teacher was certified. And I was like, no, we can't do that. We can't afford that. So, you know, they were like, but no, I want us like, no, we have a certified teacher. So you can use it for something else. But it has been so popular for my high schools that, like, you know, I have 2 or 3 at several high schools. They really are excited about the usage of this because you can actually cover multiple courses in one block. So it's almost kind of how people use Ingenuity. But this is so much better because the NCAA Clearinghouse accepts the courses. They do not accept the stuff with Ingenuity. And so we've had some student athletes that had some issues. So it's been wonderful.
Okay, other questions? I saw someone was over here. Yes.
Just interested to know if you have strong teacher unions and are they pushing back on this?
Yes.
Oh boy, do we have strong unions? Yes, we do. And actually, the union was in support of it because they understand the need, especially when you have areas of like foreign languages or those hard to fill positions, special education, as well as mathematics. So that is, especially the secondary level, because you don't find a lot of teachers who have that endorsement in mathematics or STEM. So it has been very supported by our district. And we do have a very strong union.
Anyone else? Yes.
My question would be, what was the response from the parents when you were going to tell them they weren't going to actually have, well, they had a virtual teacher and the community?
Well, first of all, we didn't want to start the school year this year. We were being strategic this year. We knew that we had vacancies, and the closer we got to school starting, and they were not filled, my superintendent was asking me every day, I need you to talk to the principals, find out what their plan is. If they don't have a good plan, which means they don't have a teacher in mind, we need to use proximity learning. We wanted to go into the school year with the parents and the students knowing that we expect you to get instruction just like everyone else who has a teacher ready to go the first day. So we made sure that probably by that first week of school had ended, that they knew that our teacher was lined up, when that teacher would be beginning. The parents obviously knew that there was a vacancy for that particular position. They were happy to know that we had a plan. We made sure that the rosters and the roles, all that information got to the proximity learning teachers so they could reach out. I believe they even had contact with the parents to let them know, I will be your teacher just like any other teacher would in the building. I think that helped. The community, they're always concerned about the same thing, which is if we're not able to find the teachers, what is the next plan? And so without having a qualified certified sub or a retired teacher who's willing to come back on the first day of school, we wanted to give these students the same opportunity to not fall behind based on not having a teacher.
I guess the way our district kind of handled it, we have what we call key communicator meetings, and it's monthly. First, the superintendent kind of rolled it out to the staff and administrators, so they would know, well, also to give feedback and to let them know what proximity learning was. And then we had another meeting with the stakeholders. The parents are invited, and they informed them what proximity learning was, and that even though we have proximity learning, we're still looking for having an actual body, a certified person in the building, in those classes, but providing the information and that kind of prior to, as a format for the parents as well as the staff, it was kind of a smooth transition when school finally started. You know what I mean?
Okay, any other questions? Yes. Oh, okay. Okay, I'm sorry, we'll get you next. Go ahead.
My question is, we know all children are not on grade level in the Algebra 1 class. So how do the proximity teachers structure the support for those struggling teachers?
So we had that issue. We had it with our regular Algebra 1, and we had it with our ESL Algebra 1. And I'm gonna tell you, one of the great things about the proximity instructor is that when the facilitator kind of said, hey, I don't think the kids are really getting this and they're behind, that she decided, okay, this is what we're gonna do. So they started putting supplemental stuff in place to help the kids build those skills that they needed, at the same time continuing to teach, but again, going back and building skills, right? Because you have some kids that are on level, and just like normal teaching, you got kids that are all different types of levels. And so they're very intuitive to that, and they put things in place. Another piece that's really cool about it is that the lessons are recorded. So the kids can go back and access the lesson. Now just imagine in the regular classroom when we're teaching, and the next day the kid's coming back and saying, I don't remember what you said, or I didn't get that down in my notes. Now there's a recording that they know to access, and they're able to watch it and listen to it, replay it multiple times as they move forward. And so it's been very successful for that piece, and they're able to access it at home as well, so it's not just in the school building.
Okay.
So this is the first I'm hearing of proximity learning. Sounds like an awesome tool. Knowing that this technology and others exist, when you hear something great like proximity learning and you want to share it with your schools, you have a lot of stakeholders, whether it's unions, teachers, superintendents, principals. How do you get a new technology or a new idea sold in?
I would say you first start with, we have a problem and we need to figure out how we're going to solve it, and what are our other options? What have we tried before that isn't working? We have been in the past dealing with the teacher shortage, but also, like I said, subs. They're not there. You get complaints. You have to pull the sub out. Then you are back to where you were, square one, without anyone in front of the students. Teachers and parents both feel the same way. If you walk out of the classroom and you see there's a sub there, and you want to make sure that they're getting the same information and that there is equity in terms of them receiving instruction, that's something that you can get everyone to get behind. The only question is, what other solutions are we missing that we haven't already tried? Virtual teaching is something that, even though we have the technology in the buildings, we have not been able to get teachers to leverage it. Their time is valuable. If they have to record a lesson just so we can play it in another class, that's somewhat helpful, but it's still not the same as them having a teacher that's live, and that to me is the difference. Sure, a student can sit there and watch a recording and ask their questions, but it's not the same as them having the feedback and the opportunity to chat with their peers and also interact with the teacher live. So just sharing that, explaining how it works, how it's different than what they may think a virtual teacher would be able to provide, I think that helps.
Is around, I know you've just talked about peer collaboration. What are the opportunities for teachers to collaborate either with other teachers in the building, or if that's not available, does Proximity have a PLC structure outside that helps to develop their teaching and what they're delivering to students?
Yes, okay, so what we normally do when it comes to professional learning, thank you for letting me join you down. What we normally do in the case of professional learning, we pretty much follow the district's flow. So when we start an engagement, we ask the district, do you have a professional learning community? And our teachers become a part of that community when it makes sense, depending on how the classes are scheduled. Now, the way Proximity works, we work just like a regular school district. We have a department chair, and we have our teachers across, and they actually meet and they get together and they have professional developments of opportunities, and that's done virtually through Zoom. So we're able to get diplomas as a school, but we work with the school district because it's not our model. So the people that work in our programs, they're all educators. They've got, at least 5 years of experience, master's degree. So we follow pretty much the same format that you do as a district. I'm curious, because one district that I do work with is East St. Louis. But in the other two districts, do you guys have PLCs, and have our teachers been invited to those? Can you talk about that?
Yes, so the teachers are actually invited to be part of the PLCs. One of the things that we use our in-house facilitator to do, make sure that they share anything like changes in schedules, anything that the proximity instructor needs to know. We want them to make sure they're kind of that mouthpiece to share it. So there's a lot of communication that goes on between all parties. And if there's a new curriculum, we share access to the curriculum with the proximity instructor. So it's a lot of sharing. It's communication and sharing, and it's important to do that. And so we make sure they're a part of that. And then they do also collaborate with the teachers on the grade levels, right, through the PLC meetings.
Go ahead. I was going to add.
Yeah, I was going to say that the same thing happens in our buildings. These teachers are collaborating in the PLCs. They're also working with that facilitator. The facilitator usually puts in the grades. So they actually have a meeting to discuss how things are going, so that when they're having to make decisions about grades and any questions that may come up from parents, that they're able to both be on the same page with those. And then also we have our instructional coaches involved. They're usually the ones driving this process because they're actually in there monitoring. They go in to see how it's going, then they share that information with that particular grade level, or also share it with the principal, so that everyone's on the same page in terms of if there are any gaps, they can try to strengthen those before they get too far in the school year.
I just wanted to add something else about the PLCs and how we collaborate with our teachers. We also leverage the technology inside of our learning management system to actually record any session that our teachers have when they come together in the PLC. So they also have the opportunity, just like if they were a student using proximity, to actually go back and view those respective skills, and also to get to sharpen their skills, because we do a lot of peer-to-peer. So if one teacher is really knocking it down or teaching 12 multiplication, we'll record that or have a session on that, and the other teachers are able to see that. I had no mic. That's just weird. Any other questions? Over here to the right. What I'd like to do is I'd like to introduce our team members. I'd like for Jim Frenchak to stand up. It's Mr. Frenchak, he works East Coast. Where's Jill at? Oh, Jill stand up, she works in the Midwest. Actually, no, Mid-South, right? Mid-South. And then Ted Robinson, who is in the back, who works in Louisiana, California.
We have a question in regards to introducing this to parents.
Yeah. Yes.
So I wanted to pass the response. There's a great difficulty staff groups like my work.
Yeah.
They have back to school nights, and so we just don't put in proximity learning and kick it over the fence. I attended just about every one of the back to school nights at the high schools on Ms. Donaldson's behalf. And so that's how we introduced the service and what we were doing, and actually showed demonstrations. In addition to that, we still get a lot of responses from the parents via email that either come through the facilitators or directly to proximity learning. So we do that. In regards to how it might take time to implement, there's a question about how you get it implemented. In Ms. Donaldson's district of East Baton Rouge, it was a 15-month process. We have to touch every single entity within the district, starting with HR, which includes Ms. Donaldson, then the deputy superintendents, then the technology team, as well as principals in that respective district. But we're just not somebody that just brings a service, sells it to you, and disappears. We are part of the fabric in East Baton Rouge. I'm there for 2 weeks each month, and I'll be there for the next 2 weeks, working with high schools and middle schools.
Okay. So that pretty much wraps it up. If you have any questions, you want us to come to your district, you can talk to any one of my colleagues, also our illustrious president, Evan Ertberg, in the back. So thank you. What, who has a question? Yes.
I do. I don't need a mic. Good afternoon.
Yes, okay.
So, I think it's great that proximity has the technology where they can play back and get like repeated directions. But
Yes,
you also have students with 504 plans.
yes,
I'm curious if
Yes.
proximity teachers are familiar with those
Yes.
accommodations and how do they provide them? Does proximity para assist with it? Just curious of that process.
so whether a student has an IEP or a 504, we follow that plan. And especially like if we're the special, if our teacher is a special education teacher, now you know, of course, you have your panel with all those particular plans, but our teacher pretty much drives that process. So they just operate exactly like you would have a teacher in a brick and mortar situation. They're just there virtually. And like Daphne said, you have to bring that computer so that teacher can be a part of that respective session. Yes.
And I was just gonna speak to that. In our district, we have certified substitute teachers. And so when we have students that have accommodations or modifications, they are made aware. And the principal kind of monitors and ensures that that process is completed and done with fidelity. And so, just depending on each class and the number of students, and then they also maybe on some occasions, depending on the IEP or the 504 plan, they may have an additional an auxiliary aid or a personal care aid which is needed.
Thank you.
Yes. Any other questions? Yeah. No? Okay. All right, thank you. Give yourselves a hand for being such a great audience. We look forward to working with you.